And welcome to another episode of More Than Dice. The team is just now getting back to get from their drinks. I started a little early.
I'm
no big
John.
Deal. See, there's John. He's already there with his Halloween cup.
It's not a Halloween cup.
Oh, it looked like a Halloween cup when you came in.
It's a Mission Barbecue cup.
Oh, I saw the orange. I saw the orange, and it looked like an orange and black, and it looked like a Halloween cup. Type it came in. And Kathy is coming in. Ooh, we got an echo. Who do we got an echo with? Give me a second. Can't be anybody. Should not be an echo from anybody. Maybe it was just at the time. Okay. It was just probably just a
Echo?
Echo. A
Echo,
quick
Echo.
echo, echo,
Echo.
echo, echo.
Isn't Echo a dolphin?
Is it me? Is it me?
No, there's nobody.
Oh, it's Legionnaires. Legionnaires is
Oh,
having
it's
all them
Legionnaires,
problems.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, Legionnaires. Well, welcome to episode 141. We're going to be talking about different types of materials that models are made out of and how to work with them and the benefits and negatives of all those models. But before we do that, let's go and get all of our sponsors out of the way. I want to thank Tectonic Craft Studios for giving us some products to give away. We'll be giving some of them away next month. And we also want to thank Muse on Minis for hosting all of our cool files and pushing it out to everybody. We also want to thank Creature Caster. We are still a creature creator, which you can bug Kathy to see if she's ever finished her Scissorane of Desire.
Oh, I haven't. No. It's in a little box because I don't want it to collect dust. But I'm sure later this winter I will get back to it. I have to finish that Shadows of Brimstone thing, and then we'll see.
Yeah. And we also want to thank Metalhead Minis for hosting all and putting all of our products out there. She'll be, if you visit our website, you can find our stuff that's from Warfare Weekend and also for More Than Dice. Some of our products we sell, which anything you buy from there goes right back into the podcast or goes into everything else we do. Hey, Hellboop. John, what are you drinking today?
I am drinking Fireball and Dr. Pepper.
Okay. Kathy's over there, already in bliss over there. What are you drinking, Kathy?
This is jasmine tea, but I also have rum and coke over there, but jasmine tea.
I'm on the good old water still, because I have to finish taking the rest of my meds. Last day of the medication, so should be pretty solid and pretty good. Other than that, John, we got any shout-outs this week?
Not that I know of.
I don't think so either. I didn't. Not that I know of either.
I mean,
I don't think so.
I guess.
No.
I could swear there was somebody, but
I got a joke one, but I'm going to save it to a more opportune moment, so it's a little harder.
Okay. But we're going to go ahead and say, guys, please look after each other. Please, please, please look after each other. If you see something going on, say something, do something. Don't stand idle by. Wear your mask. Be safe. Don't go out unless you have to. Other than that, guys, we really appreciate all y'all listening, watching, and doing whatever and being with us at this time. So I guess we'll do a shout out to all of our listeners. To them. Cheers.
Cheers.
cheers. Legionnaires has a closet and a wall of shame. I have a whole basement of shame.
I have no shame.
I'm going to go switch over to the paint cam. Hey, something we needed to test out is see if the Army Painter kept that paint wet the entire week. Do you think it did?
Then I would say that your wet palette has categorically failed.
So let's see. All right, so I had a couple of paints on here from last Sunday. So let's see if they stayed wet.
Wait, a week ago?
Last Sunday. What do you think, Kathy? You think this should hold paint for a week?
Yeah.
Okay. Let's see.
Hi, Phoenix.
Oh, hi, Phoenix.
Doesn't look like it. Looked like it bled through.
Well, yeah,
Oh yeah, it's still a little wet. Not much there though.
it absolutely will bleed through. Yes, it will absorb the water from the sponge into the paint.
So it is still there. It's still wet. I mean, you can see the shine and the wetness through it. And it did kind of.
Halo Boop is asking when was the Teespring opened? The Teespring was probably a year
That was
ago.
a while ago,
Teespring?
yeah.
Oh yeah, actually, we had Teespring up there for a long time. Let's put this back on. We'll test some more stuff with it. But I have to get started on something because Captain Mizzy came yelling and screaming and throwing things at me the last time I saw her.
Understandably, I plan on doing that the first time I see you.
Yeah, that's fair. Yeah,
Well, second, I guess you
what
can
we
say
all
it.
do, isn't it?
She's having difficulty with metal miniatures, and that's the reason why we brought up the subject. She's never worked with metal miniatures, just plastic ones, which are, okay, and stuff. And so she was having a problem with it, and she's like, please, please, please take this off my hand before I kill somebody. And she technically, I think she dropped one of the models, and when she did, she cried. So,
Parts fell off.
Wow. Good luck with the rest of your life. Because she's coming.
yeah, I think what it was just combined with work and everything else, and it was just like way out of the line and stuff. So I figured it'd be a good subject for us to talk about this week, because how many miniature companies are still doing metal miniatures?
All the time, Infinity.
Infinity is
Belly. Yeah.
Infinity still doing metal?
Last I checked.
Reaper still does metal, even though they have their bones.
I cried because 2020 is a twat. That's fair.
Yeah,
That's absolutely
2020
fair.
is a big, huge twat.
Which one?
2020,
Oh,
the year.
The whole year.
Yeah. I mean, there have been small, bright points of light. However, for the most part, yeah.
As a year, 2020 is more depressing than the first season of Battlestar Galactica.
And that was nonstop.
Yeah.
Okay, so I remember when most of the miniatures were metal, no matter what. When they, when I first started doing it.
They all were back
Yeah.
in the day. All of
Hold
them.
on, guys.
And they were lead.
Man voice for that shit.
Do what?
But you have to do your old man voice.
Old man voice. Well, I remember back in my
Back
day.
in the day, all the miniatures were made of metal.
Well, back when I was just starting out into the hobby, you see.
We had to whittle our miniatures out of wood.
Out of blocks of lead.
And we chewed on them too.
Do you know how hard it is to whittle a block of lead? Wasn't easy. So I want to point out in the opposite of Banion's defense, he says he put a Chimera together backwards.
What, like the treads were on backwards?
That's a plastic model. Like, that was one of those. I'm like, what? You did it? Okay. He's like, it's all wrong. I got him a replacement because I work at Games Workshop. And then I saw the model he had, and I'm like, you flaming moron? You just put it together wrong. Oh.
So most models nowadays are plastic or resin, with a few exceptions. Like I said, Warcaster's doing metal, and Infinity.
Hey, a lot high.
So I'm actually looking at this. This is one of the one that Mizzy put together, but it fell apart. And she's got little score marks. You probably can't see it. I mean, they're really tiny, tiny score marks right here, to where the glue is, but it's not enough amount of score marks. Now, when you get a metal miniature, what is the first thing you should do with your metal miniatures, John?
Wash them.
How? Doing what?
Soapy water. Dawn takes mold release out of your way.
honestly, that's good, but really just water is good enough because all you really want is the mold release agent off, the talc
Mm-hmm.
mostly. And water will do that fine. If you want a soapy water, that's next level. I would
I
actually
like.
save. I mean, you might as well. That way, you're doing the same thing with all your models because technically you should do it with plastics, though it's a lot less important with plastics. And you had better do that shit with your resin.
Oh,
Yes.
definitely. You always
It
want
is
to do that.
most important on resin more than any other one.
Yeah. Yeah. That was a one thing that for the longest time I was like, why isn't my primer sticking to my metal miniatures? Why is my paint always coming off of my metal miniatures? Is because when we first started doing it, I mean, I didn't think about that you needed to, you know, wash them. I mean, who ever heard of
I
washing
I was
miniatures?
doing I was painting metal miniatures for years and years before I thought of washing the mold release off of them in the same way that I would do it with resin. For whatever reason, it didn't occur to me for metal. But yeah,
Well,
it
it
does help.
I'd heard of it, and then when I started working for Games Workshop, and you see how a model's made, you're like, oh, look at all that. That makes sense.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
That's how they get them out of the mold. They talc up the mold so that it doesn't stick as much.
And you can feel it too. You can tell whenever you pick up a miniature, you can go, oh, because it feels silky.
Chalky, a little chalky.
Yeah. So that was the one thing that, I was, a lot of people, like I said, aren't used to metal miniatures. And so it's kind of
Yeah,
a
they're the
different thing.
exception, not the rule now.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, Hail Boop says Blood and Plunder. The World War I game has metal. And that made me think of Warlord games. I think they have stuff that's metal. Footsore Miniatures metal. There's a ton of companies,
Yeah.
smaller companies that
Yeah.
make their stuff out of metal.
And usually it is a lot of the smaller companies for the simple fact that they can do it in house most of the time. They don't have to
Yeah.
go to China or wherever to get it done.
Because otherwise you do. I mean, plastic models, only Games Workshop, I think, can do them in-house. I think everyone else has to contract them out to somebody.
Yeah, usually. So, so that was the one thing that I definitely, for people that are still working with it, that are still, or not still, but are working with metal miniatures, wash the shit out of those things.
Dyslexic Lemons goes, I dropped too many minis to get metal minis. Yeah, because the metal ones, unless you pin the hell out of them, which I do, I pin the hell out of every arm, everything that goes onto another part of that model. I drill, I pin, because we're shipping models wherever, so they're at the whim of the post office or UPS or whatever. But so we have to make sure they're going to arrive, in one piece. And pinning everything does help with that. But if you drop it on the floor, not only is there a chance that parts are going to break off even if they are pinned, or at least get loosened,
Oh yeah.
but your paint job is going to be chipped to hell, and there's nothing you can really do about it. If you get a bunch of your metal models together, not separated by foam spacers or wrapped in bubble wrap or whatever, and they get knocked around, they're going to chip the paint off of each other. And you don't get that as much, not nearly as much with plastic.
No, yeah. The one thing I've with plastic, I mean, I've had some Space Marines that I've like knocked off and they hit the ground and went launching off into space because they're plastic and not paint doesn't chip or nothing on it, so it was like super easy.
I've
But
also had plastic models hit the ground and explode into all their component parts.
Fangwad says the Warcaster models have good deep attachment points.
they do have some good deep attachment points on here.
Nevertheless,
Infinity's gotten a lot better. Corvus Belli, they're doing a lot to make things as easy as possible because they have some really, really small parts that aren't always easy to get together. And I would say on it categorically, what Gonzo is doing there, do not do.
Yeah, do not do this unless
Ever.
you know how to do it without screwing it up.
Even if you know how to do it without screwing it up, don't do it unless you have to. It has to be a really small point because all you're doing, so that will hold and that will bond, but it will be weaker than if you actually just glued it and let it stay.
Oh, geez, yeah. Also, using a little bit of green stuff, and by a little, I mean a very little. You mix up a little green stuff, you do a dot of green stuff, you do a dot of glue. Now all of a sudden, your green stuff is going to be there helping fill up whatever little gap it is because you don't want to use too much green stuff. But that's going to hold it in place now while your glue dries.
Yeah, and Metal John would say a little bit of glue, a little bit of green stuff, a little bit of glue. The idea is the green stuff isn't going to be between the two little glues. It's going to be that point's going to hit. Like if it's a rounded thing, the point's going to hit, but then the green stuff will fill in around it where it normally might be a little loose. It'll fill in, and green stuff's got some sticky property combined with the glue, and now you've got a better hold. Liquid green stuff probably would not do the same. It'd be okay, but I don't think it'd be good enough for you, Captain Mizzy.
I never liked the liquid green stuff.
It has its juices.
Never liked it.
I would
Well,
rather
it's-
use the Vallejo plastic putty.
Yeah, absolutely. Remember that liquid green stuff was made literally to make up for the fact that
Fine
the
cast is
fine
fail cast.
was not as good a quality as it needed to be. That being said, I got like a handful of fine cast models that were all perfect. And they were great.
I had so you know the Lord of the Rings stuff.
Mhm.
What was it called? It was the Warg Rider, the Goblin Warg
Mhm.
Rider guys. I love that unit in my Goblin army.
Mhm.
So I wanted to get the model, but of course it's fine cast. So I got the model. I got it home. So many air bubbles and the mold slide and everything. I took it back. I took it back to the store. They went in the back and got every single one of them they had. This is the battle bunker. Every one of them we had. We looked through all of them. And then they ordered more. And between all of those, of the ones they ordered again and everything, I was able to cobble together one that was adequate.
Adequate.
Yeah.
Not even good or
Not
perfect.
even
adequate.
good. Not even good. One that I was
Yeah.
like, well, with a little work, I can make this work.
So that is the downside of resin, and you don't see that often because other companies that use resin don't try to mass produce it. GW tried to mass produce it, and resin is not for mass production. You need to take your time. You need to make sure you're doing it right. That is the real reason why Forge World stuff is so expensive. Part of it's a markup like a motherfucker, but it is inherently much more expensive to start because of all the babysitting and all the love and care has to go into it. It's like a handcrafted model at that point. Like it's not like sculpt or anything, but they're literally pouring the resin into the mold, making sure it all fills out properly and all that. So.
Plastic and Bane Riders.
Oh yeah, so
Oh yeah.
the Restic, which is Privateer Press's old resin type model.
Restic being resin plastic. Right.
Yeah. Now, technically, it doesn't matter definitions, but we call it Restic so we're clear as to what we're talking about versus standard plastics or standard resin. It is the worst of all worlds. It's extra bendy. It doesn't hold. It holds detail less good than plastic, regular plastic, and it was quite literally the worst possible material.
Yes. That
And
was.
then you have a company who's doing everything they can. Well, yes, Restic is just PVC, but again, we call it Restic so people know exactly what we're talking about. Because PVC, plastic, there's a million different types.
Yeah.
There's even different types of plastic you might have. And for example, the steam forged models are plastic that is a different type of plastic than both the Restic and, say, GW plastic. I know because I got a bunch over there on the
And different from
on his
bones,
ducks.
which is another kind of plastic.
Yeah. So they've changed their formulation for plastic. Their first stuff was very bendy.
Yeah.
And they've gotten a little more rigid, which is good. That's what you need. Because you don't want your plastic to be... So, you want your plastic to either be GW plastic because it's just really good to work with, uses plastic glue, bonds together well, just a good quality material. If you're not using that and you're still staying in what we call plastic, you want to use what is used for Legion, Star Wars Legion models, which is a little bendy, but not so much that it really just becomes a problem. But I've literally had a sniper rifle bend almost sideways, and then carefully you're able to put it back into proper shape, and it's not going to come off. Where with other materials that we've either snapped because it's too rigid, or been floppy forever, or stuck that way because it's
Yeah.
too soft.
Trashorama is right. Hey, Trash. Kathy has worked with the new Bones Gen 3 stuff.
Mhm.
Yes. The Burgermeester, which I painted up during ReaperCon on the stream, or the little fat mayor, that was the Gen 3 Bones. And that was pretty amazing. You think of Bones, you think of the white stuff, you think all bendy, uh, lack of detail. It was exactly the opposite of that. It was not bendy. There was a ton of detail. I was actually surprised at the amount of tiny details that this model had, and the this knight in armor that I have too is Gen 3 that I'll be painting at some point. So much detail in that, and all the edges are really sharp and everything. So this new Gen 3 Bones, when you see them talking about that, it's a really nice material.
Well, honestly, like I would say everything except for Restic and that really bendy plastic is nice material. Anything between, anything a higher quality rigidity wise than say HeroClix, because fuck that shit. No, some of you love HeroClix. That's cool. They're not paintable models. It's okay. They're durable. It's all good. But for those of us who want to paint the models and all, they're terrible for that. So we're not really fans of them. And then Restic is it's just the fucking worst.
It's just hard to work with.
Yeah, there's no. The only redeeming feature is I think that Privacy Press had more control over how it was made because I think they had it in house or something. So.
Yeah, because that was like the first Grimkin stuff was made out of that.
But yeah, I've had my share, and I told this story on the stream last week because Captain Mizzy and I were talking about what a pain in the ass it is to put together metal models now that people have put together plastic models and see how easy it can be and what great quality plastics you can get nowadays. It didn't used to be the case. But anyways, yeah, I had when I was first starting out in the hobby and I was putting models together, there was one point where I decided I'm going to put this. It was Warcrow was the name of the company, and they had some really cool models. And I was holding all the pieces of this model that I had glued together in my hand, in my fingers, all the pieces glued, because I thought that would be a good idea. And there was a piece stuck to each one of my fingers and my thumb. They glued themselves to the tips of my fingers and thumb, and I'm like shaking my hand. I'm like screams of rage, loud sounds happening, and I was like, I'm done for the day. I couldn't with the hobby anymore that particular day. The next day I came back and I figured out that I could roll up pieces of uncooked Sculpey into a little ball and support those pieces like that, and then maybe not try and glue every single piece onto the model all at the same time.
What?
It's a learning
Let parts
experience.
dry in between? That sounds like madness.
It's a learning experience, It was early on, and we all do it. We all glue parts of models to ourselves at some point.
I'm not going to say that we used to play a game after putting together models for a good session. of who got the largest piece of glue off their skin.
Oh God.
Yeah. I got to the point where I'm like, you know what? I'm not really going to compete in this anymore. But I had a bottle of acetone all the time because it was a lot easier to get it off your skin then. Oh, Captain Madlove, rating party. Thank you.
Woo.
Sharing the love. Hey, Trader Legions. Hey, Captain. Thank you so much for the raid. Hi, Agusaku. How is everybody? Welcome to the More Than Dice podcast. This is Sunday night. We do our podcast. We talk about gaming and tabletop war games mainly, role-playing games, occasionally card games, and we talk about the hobby because we're all miniature painters.
Yep.
So
fact,
that's what's going on tonight. Hey, Malite.
I'm the only one painting, which is an oddity. By painting, I'm dry brushing a test base.
Bill Robertson. Hi. Carew. Hi. Welcome. This just, oh my gosh, I forgot to change it. This doesn't look like a Gundam. You guys, so earlier today, I was streaming my assembly of my first Gundam kit. And so that was a couple of hours of streaming, but every other Sunday I'm going to be streaming that in the afternoon until I get that Gundam kit built. So, but yeah, so Sunday nights, every Sunday night is this podcast.
Oh my.
And right now we're talking about the difference between various materials models are made out of. The TL didn't catch the beginning is restic stuff sucks. Wash all your models after you get them.
So yeah, it's the pros and cons of metal models versus plastic models versus resin models. The different kinds of plastic. You know, we've all had experience with all these different materials. We all know what we like and don't like. The most weird thing that I've heard from people about why they like metal models, though, is, well, they weigh more and it feels better in my hand.
No, that's a good thing. I mean,
that's just the most bizarre reason for liking metal models.
Lighter.
I'm just saying. The upside down guy is tripping me out, says Zara. That's fair. He trips all of us out.
That's the Gonzo. He's weird.
Hey, Sarge.
I'm weird. Okay, so the one thing, so for people who are wondering, I'm working on a Warcaster model. These are models from a friend of mine, Captain Mizzy, and she was having problems with metal miniatures. It's her first time, and she broke some, and she was just like done, and like, hey, can you help me out? I'm like, sure. So right now I'm cleaning up all the plastic, or all the glue that she had in here, because she really wants to paint this stuff. And so I'm having to dig some of this glue out. But the one thing I did notice that I can give a good thing on is she didn't score the metal well enough. There was like 2 marks. And I'm like, no, you got to really just mark the shit up. You really have to
just take the file or take I actually use wood carving tools on my metal models when I'm cleaning them. So I can take the wood carving tool and ram it into the sockets, you know, where the arms are going to go or the legs or whatever, and really just scrape it all out.
So right now I'm just cleaning the glue that she had in this socket.
Captain Mizzy waves my flag of shame. Yes, that's the very same person. It's fine, Captain Mizzy. We will get you...
Does that come out at all?
We'll get you putting together metal models in no time.
Kinda can see some of it. It's tough.
Zara suggests magnets in the bases, too. Yeah, magnets in the bases are an awesome thing. In addition to that, I like to pin my models to my bases. But I like to make more decorative bases.
Yes, slightly more decorative bases, indeed.
Magnets. Captain Madlow says, thank you for that advice on the tools for metal models. Such a good idea. You are most welcome. That's something that we discovered a long time ago. They're good for carving in baked Sculpey, and they're good for filing mold lines and stuff on metal and plastic. And they're slightly less sharp than your hobby knife, so if you slip, you're a bit less likely to cut yourself. I mean, if you stab, then yeah, you're still going to stab yourself, but let's be real. But yeah, they're just not quite as dangerous as the and you can get a better leverage with wood carving tools, seems like.
Mhm.
Anyways, that's my perspective.
Okay.
Ooh, an Elf Blood Bowl set.
Wow,
There's
that's
a
old
lot
school.
of people looking for one of those.
Because 88, that's like way, way back. That's like first Ed Blood Bowl.
Yeah, those are
That's
some crazy looking
before. That's
models.
before I started even playing Blood Bowl. That's
It was long before I started.
yeah. I probably didn't start till about 94 and 95 ish.
Where's the fun in having tools that you can't injure yourself with? Well,
I mean,
I
if you
guess.
try hard enough, you can injure yourself with anything.
I'm more. That's true. That's very true.
What about one of my old battle brothers, Keith Kachalian, used to teach the kids. It was the academy at the Glen Burnie Battle Bunker, and he would teach them how to use the tools and all that. And every time he introduced a new tool, one of the kids would ask him, "Mr. Keith, how did you hurt yourself with that one?" And every time he had a story of how he hurt himself with that particular tool. So,
Okay. Got the glue cleaned up, so now we're going to score up this thing and just get it
Yeah.
all going. Now, of course, glue for each type is going to be different. Of course, you can't use plastic glue with a metal miniature.
well, asterisks. You
Correct.
can use super glue on all of it.
Correct.
That's true.
But what do y'all prefer? Do you prefer super glue on everything, or plastic glue with plastic? You know, super glue with metal, super glue with resin. I mean, how are
Super
y'all
glue with
handling?
resin. When I was putting together my creature caster model, uh, like I said, I always scrape out all the sockets and areas where things are gonna fit, no matter what. If I'm using super glue, and it was like cement. You just touch that one part of the resin to the other part. All you hold it
Yeah,
for a couple seconds, and it's done.
it's
Yeah.
not coming apart no matter
I
how much.
had I had parts of that model that I had to bend still under hot water, and there were it was parts that I had already glued together, and I had these things, and I was grabbing and bending and wrestling with these things, and they were not coming apart. So yeah, super glue for resin, fantastic. And that wasn't even with using green stuff yet.
Yeah. Now, I use super glue on everything except plastic models. Since I'm doing a lot of model foe, I will plastic glue the crap out of some models. I love plastic glue.
I love plastic glue too, but Wavy has a good point as well. It's good super glue everything is good because you can usually disassemble super glue if you're careful. And if you feel like you have to, that is very true. Like Banyan could have popped those treads off the off that Chimera.
Oh, I should actually point out that actually I assembled that Chimera later because he gave me the broken one.
Oh really?
Yeah, I got it assembled. I got it pop. It
Not
was a thing.
broken. Not broken. That's funny.
Yeah,
Sorry,
that actually,
Banyan, but that was funny.
Bleach Juniors, that is actually really interesting. He's got a bowl that's filled with rice that he uses to keep models upright while they're gluing.
I like that idea.
That's
It is a
pretty
really good idea. I use the old hands, but I'm crazy like that.
I usually, like I said, I'll roll up a ball of either uncooked Sculpey or blue tack and put it, in a place that supports the joints for letting super glue dry.
So what I'll do is honestly, if I know I'm putting together models that need some drying time, since I generally only hobby for about a half an hour or so a day, I will make sure I have a video on so that I can be holding it and watch the video while I'm letting it dry, and then get back and keep track of my hobby time versus just staring at the video time.
Oh, interesting.
what
Sarge says you can disassemble a part after using plastic glue. Just use plastic glue again until the part loosens.
That's actually an interesting tip because I've
Yeah.
usually had to use. I've done so much as taking a hobby knife and sort of get a little bit around the edge open, and then taking acetone and using the same hobby knife to get it in there to try and loosen it up.
what glue do y'all usually suggest? I mean, brands type.
Um, it doesn't matter if I'm buying a brand specifically. I'm probably getting Gorilla Glue, but I mean, I think everyone uses the same
I
bottle of glue since
I
they'll
like
put.
the Instacure cyanoacrylate. The Instacure, that's the one with the purple label. Yes, that's exactly the same one I have. John?
Yes, they use that in the stores because they let them label it with whatever, which is cool.
Yeah. The one
So
that I have is labeled Bobby's Hobby House, which had to close last year. Rest in peace, Bobby's Hobby House.
but yeah, so it's it's good glue. There's nothing wrong with this. I like Gorilla Glue also, but sometimes it's hard to get that, and um, there's different. You can have different grades of that. Sort of like GW used to have the thin glue, which I actually really, unlike most people, I really liked the thin glue. The price point was a little much considering how little you got in the bottle.
If you're going thin glue, Jim absolutely loves the really cheap like crazy glue that comes in the package of 3 tiny metal tubes because that is super thin. That's all he
Inter-
uses now, and it's also super cheap.
That
But
stuff's
it's
actually
really
really good
messy
for.
if
Yeah,
you're not careful.
that's why I like GW's because it came in a bottle with the brush applicator, which was amazing. Like, it was really expensive for what you got. I'm not gonna lie, and I grain of salt because I was buying it on my GW discount, so I barely noticed. But I really liked it as a product, just not the price point when you're not an employee. They don't make it anymore, I don't think so. But I really like the brush and all that. I would use some of that. Sarge says, Tamiya extra thin, regular and quick setting for plastic, Insecure purple, medium gap filling for super glue. Yeah, that's standard. Tester's plastic that Banan uses is also really good. I use
The
that
Tester's
myself.
plastic is fantastic. That is my favorite plastic glue.
I actually also like Model Master plastic glue. The
Actually,
stuff is great.
that might be the one that I have.
Yeah.
Should be sitting here somewhere.
Honestly, you use plastic glue so infrequently. Make sure you get one you're gonna like. Um, Sarge, does that Tamiya one have the brush applicator? Because that's the only thing that would make things better is a little brush applicator on those. I think I saw one on some modeling website that had a brush applicator.
See, this was the one, and it has a
Glue.
Glue
Glue
porn.
little brush applicator on it too.
They both
Yeah, okay,
do.
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So that's really nice having the brush applicator.
Yeah, I use that one on a lot of my plastics.
Yeah, so that's a good one to get there. I do like the metal tip on the Model Masters one, but the brush applicator would be really good too.
Dara says I've been using spackle for gap filling on resin.
Interesting. It's probably cheaper than using green stuff, which I use, fortunately, in large amounts. Or you can extend the brush too when the bottle gets near the bottom. That's super cool. I'll take a look at that stuff when I need to refill my plastic glue, which will be a while. That one's relatively new, and I'm not really putting together Malivo models right this moment, and definitely not putting together GW models right now. It's all Marvel Crisis Protocol, which can plastic glue, and Star Wars Legion.
Bill Robertson says I use FlexiFile or a 10x7 or Ambroid Pro Weld or the Tamiya. Really hot plastic glue that you can melt off light seam lines with. Wow, I hadn't thought of that. Interesting.
Yeah, so you see, even in glue, there's a million different ones you can use. There's the modeling glue we use is just the tip of the iceberg, really.
Oh, that's a good idea, Wavy. Wavy says I use resin out of my 3D printer and a UV torch. I've heard people talk about doing that, like to attach a model to a base sometimes, or an arm to the body or whatever, rather than using green stuff or something else to do gap filling.
My UV torches. I haven't welded with it before, but I do have a bunch of UV torches.
Lemon scented plastic glue.
A lemon scented brush on plastic thin glue for those who can't handle the fumes. That's also another one. The fumes are another thing you got to keep in mind. I mean, those fumes are
The Tamiya is
Not,
very strong.
not significant enough to really cause a problem unless you're using it a lot. Luckily, I'm pretty sure you can wear a mask and help out a lot. We all got those now. You know. So, well, yeah. So that sort of thing about it is, if you're only going to choose one glue, choose a good super glue. It'll work for everything. If you want that next level and you decide you like it after trying it on something, I suggest getting some old cheap GW box set that's made of plastic and trying out plastic glue to make sure it's your thing, because it is a little different than using super glue.
Yeah.
Like, you will not get that shit apart once it's fully cured. No. It basically kind of melts that shit together. You're not getting it apart easy.
Also, you have to be careful when you do pull parts apart and you get those little threads of glue that they don't get on other parts of your model, because it will start to work on those other parts of your model and it may wipe out some of the detail. Sarge says, I come from the scale model side of the hobby, only been doing miniatures for a short time. So a lot of my building is still using scale model techniques. And I think that's, that's an interesting thing to consider, is that scale modelers have techniques that they've all been using for years and years and years. And there should be a crossover. You can learn a lot as miniature painters from the things that scale modelers do with like model cars, model tanks,
Well,
all of that kind of stuff.
also, don't forget our where we come from, the historical war gamers. I mean, they've been painting models since forever.
Dawn of time.
I mean, come on. There's video. There's lots of They love that picture, short video of Peter Cushing working on some of his models, which is a great one. I mean, they've been doing it for a long time. There's a lot of stuff there, so it's
and model railroaders with their terrain building and stuff.
Oh, yeah, good lord.
You can do a ton of amazing stuff with bases of models if you study how these people are making terrain and the tools that they use for it. So all these hobbies have a crossover. They really should have a crossover.
Yes, there should be a Venn diagram, and we should all mitigate towards that, migrate to that center where we're all using all the tactics. But the only difference is a lot of those, they use only one medium. For example, scale modelers, generally, most of those model kits are plastic. Just pure plastic, so they might have a little bit of other stuff here or there. But also talk to those guys, you need to put together clear plastic. GW does clear canopies. Some other guys will have some clear parts you may want to stay clear. You want to check with those guys on how they do it to keep it clear. Because if you use super glue, it's going to fog up.
Yeah.
You can prevent that, but it's easier to actually talk to them on how they put it together.
Weeby's talking about making sprue goo with plastic glue.
It's great
for filling plastic. Yeah, I have only just recently heard about that, like dissolving bits of your sprues into this stuff to make this kind of sludge that you can use for gap filling. And I'm like, oh my god, that's amazing.
Yeah. And Sarge says, I actually use the sprue bits to put in an almost empty Tamiya good glue bottle and add more glue to it. It melts the plastic and can be used as filler. If you get the spider webs when you pull the brush out, you need to add more glue until it stops. That's another great tip. Though I find, as far as gap filling goes, plastic models tend to have the least amount of gap.
Yeah.
And Legionnaire says Vince Venturella has a video on sprue goo. So if you want to see a video on how to make the sprue goo, go find Vince Venturella's YouTube channel.
Yes. I have a list of all the hobby videos that have been suggested to me. I just keep it on there, even if I watch them, so I can go back and reference it another time. But yeah, mostly I find plastic models tend to have the least amount of gap filling required, and metal models tend to have probably the worst, though resin sometimes is...
Resin can be, yeah, because you can get some warping on some of the pieces, and like, that Suzerain of Desire, I'm not I mean, I absolutely love my creature caster models, but I'm not looking forward to the green stuffing that I'm going to have to do on parts of that when I start putting pieces together.
Yeah, it's going to be significant probably. Um, Now, that's another thing where knowing the material helps. So resin tends to warp a little bit, but it is very much more receptive to heat and bending it back and then shocking it back with cold water. So literally all you need is a hair dryer and or a heat gun. It's just a hair dryer. Heat guns get a little too hot, but it'll work quicker. And then you just heat up the part, bend it to where you need it, and then put in some cold water to shock that shit back into staying that way. It doesn't work with everything. Some things it'll work better than others, but it is definitely a good tool to keep in your toolbox there for working with resin.
Your repertoire.
Yes, and also remember resin. We say this every time we're working with it. Wear an actual good particle mask or respirator if you're filing resin. That shit is no bueno.
I'm guessing this is where the weapons go.
What's that?
I was trying to figure out where we have these look like little bitty feet things, and I'm like, that's got to be the shoulder mounts for the guns. Because
Bill Robertson says you can also straighten out Reaper black swords and such with just a hair dryer. A lot of those softer plastics you can do it with. He says just let it cool. I actually prefer to have cool water to cool it off quicker. You just hold it in the pose you want it, throw it in there, and let it go. Because a lot of things, if they've been bent long enough, when they cool, they'll just try and go back to that shape, I find.
It's a shoulder.
And also sometimes they'll just, like I did a little bit with, so Minsk here is from GF9, and he is a bit of, you can see this is very soft plastic, very bendy. I did manage to take some
Hey, Storm. The internet was
ability to
down.
get some heat to get that all straightened, and then with the paint actually helps a lot because the paint won't want to bend. So if you can get it straight before you paint it, it'll stay there. And then if it does bend, unfortunately, it might crack the paint. But that's sort of the problem with that material. And normally I wouldn't work with it, but I don't see anyone else out there making a Minsk and Boo model, so it was that or nothing. So
I need a suggestion from Captain Mizzy. Big gun on the arm or
Go big or go home.
Or little gun. I'm going to guess she's going to say big gun.
probably big gun.
I mean, because she doesn't...
Gun?
Do what?
Big boom.
Big boom.
Big
Bada
bada boom.
boom.
I mean, she's not planning on WYSIWYGing or going to tournaments, so she just probably wants it, for cool
Not
looking factor.
magnetizing weapons. Not in this case.
No.
Um,
I didn't magnetize mine, and of course, I'm a tournament player, but I also bought 3 of them and did 3 configurations.
That's the other thing that's easier with plastic magnetizing.
Yeah. Pinning is easier. Conversions are easier.
Easier.
Did she say big boom, I'm guessing? I can't see.
Yeah, she said big boom.
Big boom.
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah, so Sarge says notes that he also uses a bowl of ice water, hold the part in position I want. He says it seems to get rid of the bend memory. Yeah, I just use cold water out of the tap, but ice water probably works even better.
Yeah.
And if you're doing a large batch of things, it'll stay cold longer. I usually only do one thing at a time, but that's sort of my focus right now. One thing at a time. Yeah. Seems to me painting 7 things at once, but when I'm putting stuff together, it's one thing at a time.
Big
putting
bada
a
boom.
giant thing together.
What giant thing are you going to put together?
My one giant thing that I'm putting together. My Gundam.
Your Gundam,
kit.
which requires no glue.
Oh.
Nick says, is Kathy assembling or is she... So, Nick, that was earlier, and I just forgot to change that for our podcast. This is the podcast. And the Gundam assembly was earlier in the day.
It apparently went very well.
which kicked ass. It was awesome. And thanks to Sidestorm, who is in chat here, for multi-streaming with me and sending me that kit and putting one together at the same time as me, so we both could go through the instructions together and we could both go through every piece as we were assembling them side by side. And we are going to be doing that every other Sunday afternoon until I get this thing fully assembled. So yeah, I really enjoyed it a lot. It was fun.
Awesome.
So, but yeah, Sunday night is always our podcast where we talk about the hobby and the miniatures and gaming and
Chickens.
nerd
Very
stuff.
rarely do we talk about chickens, though.
Very rarely do we talk about chickens.
And
Mostly
a lot
Guns
about food.
talks about chickens, but I mean that's true. The food's generally on the preamble.
Every once in a while we get it up.
Pre-ramble
Anytime we
was
do a
very
hobby time,
food-centric.
we go off on the food.
I mean, it's important. You take a vote. Who thinks Kathy should paint hers? Oh, pick me. Pick me. I think that.
What? What are you talking about?
Kathy should paint her Gundam.
Yes, 100% you should paint your Gundam.
Yeah, but I wasn't as careful with all the little, clippy things. There's
You can
tiny
always
little
take it apart.
things.
You can clean it afterwards. Hell, I have friends who put together GW models and don't clean them while they're putting them together. Drives me nuts when I get models from him. And I'm like, oh, you motherfucker. Really? You didn't clean the models at all? He's like, no, I clean them afterwards. Like, it's so much harder afterwards, you idiot.
No, I
That's
didn't
sort of
intend on that for this one, so I didn't clean anything. I feel like
She mentioned for
paint
this
the
one. That
parts
means
on
she'll
the
paint
screen.
the next one.
I'll paint the next one. Yeah,
There you go.
you heard it here. I'll paint the next one. This one is my for funsy. Well, they would all be for funsy, but this one is my first one. I want to keep it simple.
You'll have to go get some liner, some panel liner then. Try that out.
Like I don't know where to get a oil paint wash.
Oh, bam. Is it the other room? Tell me it's the other room. You don't actually have to go
It's
out
like
of the house.
reaching across
So
the
far
room.
away.
Yeah.
Just reaching across the room, yelling at Jim to give it to her.
Yeah.
Yeah, so Sarge asks any thoughts on the upcoming 2021 convention season. It's gonna be rough. It's probably gonna be nothing until late summer at the earliest, I'm thinking.
I would like to think that it would be different, but I feel like Trashorama is correct in saying that he thinks that the 2021 season will be virtual. There have already been pushbacks and cancellations. Not just, and I'm assuming you're not just talking about, in the geek convention season, because I know that there are other conventions, other big professional conventions that are also doing that. They're canceling and pushing back and stuff. And yeah.
Which I really think is really weird. LVO still has not canceled last I saw.
It will. So, remember, they have to wait until the convention center says, no, you can't have it before they cancel or it becomes problematic.
Yeah,
so I work with
they won't officially announce.
Yeah. I have a lot of people who work with a lot of people that are doing conventions of various things, and they're all making assumptions that it's going to be virtual, part virtual, maybe virtual and live at the same time. They're all making that assumption and getting ready for that. Even some of them that aren't supposed to have conventions until July of next year, they're still getting ready for the potential of it being virtual. And Nixel says 3 years. It's a Spanish flu, 3 years to burn out. I don't feel like we could be better than that, but I don't think certain selection of people would let it be better than that because they're freedoms.
Yeah. They got to have their freedom fries.
Yeah, I wish it would be live too. I would like to actually go to some, but this just gives me more time to pay bills get set up so I can go start doing the stuff I want to do better. We make it to somewhere where both Kathy and Gonzo are, and we can have a live get together.
Yeah.
What? Now, because see, people have already asked us about Warfare Weekend in November of next year, and I'm like, we're playing it by ear still.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I would hope, because it's November. I mean, it's a year away. I hope.
Might be. I mean, they're pushing, not to get on the depressing topic of the COVID apocalypse, but they're pushing for this vaccine at a breakneck pace.
Yeah.
So they really want it to work. I don't know. Vaccines generally take longer than that to be tested and developed, but who knows? There's a lot of smart people working on it. I don't want to just think that no, they're pushing it through too fast. I mean, they need to do something.
A 1/100th Deep Striker should be the first Gundam that I paint. Says
That sounds like a trap. Let me check with Admiral Akbar. Yeah, he said that's a trap.
Yeah, that's a trap.
That sounded kind of like a trap to me.
See?
Who needs safety? The economy is what matters. Right? Right? Oh, the peasants don't matter.
It's crazy. It is unprecedented. But go to a normal spiel. Hey, guys, try and keep it together. It's tough times, not getting games in. It's time to paint all your armies. Times to get all that stuff together. Chat with your local peoples, hopefully through Facebook. And hell, imagine what this would be like without social media. Imagine if this happened in the 90s, for fuck's sake. It would have been a catastrophe.
My life would have been very different.
Well, I mean, mine too.
Hang out with your favorite Twitch streamers, like Kathy.
Yeah, like Kathy.
I wouldn't be here.
But
if that had happened in the 90s.
Well, yeah, we say that, but since we're on the COVID apocalypse, you guys want to chat? Hit one of us up, all of us up. We'll chat with you by text. We'll start a Skype call if you need it. We need to do everything together to keep everyone sane. You need to chat with somebody, live chat shit. Really get some painting streams together. Good Lord. I wish. Did Google Hangouts not choose the worst time to end?
Yeah.
God, you need Google Hangouts. I guess you could get a Zoom meeting.
Yeah.
Free Zoom, you can, what, 45 minutes?
Discord Hangouts.
You can do Discord. You can do Google
Discord.
Meets.
Discord is great. Just get it together, get some hobby night on. It'll help a lot. Nixel, I feel you. I've cracked a couple times. Luckily, my work is very understanding when I tell them I literally cannot today. I cannot. It will not. So Good Meet is still around. Skype. That's Good Meet, MEET, because don't Google the other thing, because that's going to be terrible.
Played around with it too much.
If you play someone who has a gray army after this should feel the taunts of 1,000 taunts.
Oh, so Legionnaire says he misses my Hobby Streak streams, but I understand we aren't doing it anymore. Yeah, it was a lot of extra time and almost no one watching them, unfortunately. Of course, that was before COVID. It'd probably be super popular now. I am working to arrange my desk so that I can get a second monitor up so I can do more streaming of stuff. Like maybe Hobby Streaks, maybe watch John play MechWarrior online terribly. This is the only way apparently I know how. That's not really true. I have some good games. I have a lot of bad games, but we'll see.
Hey, what time is it?
Oh, before we go to movie section, because it's 8:59, Trash Rumble also said he would plug Reaper does a paint club every Sunday from 1 p.m. Central Standard Time. Get 10 to 15 folks on from 1 to 6. That sounds like a great hangout time.
That's in the Reaper Miniatures Discord, right? The paint club.
I do not know.
I think, right, Trash? I really need to get in on that at some point here, because I think I had a lot of fun during ReaperCon online in that Discord.
Yep, Reaper Mini Paint Club on Discord.
So yeah,
Check out
that
for
would be
Discords.
very
There's Discords on everything. You can find like-minded people who are doing stuff. We don't really have one because
Prime
heck, we're
People's
in so many other
Painted.
things too.
It never got used.
Yeah, which is understandable. I mean,
Yeah, not worried about it.
I am a member of a million Discords. Some of them I pay attention to, some of them I don't. Honestly, everything I follow on Patreon has a Discord that I don't use that I'm attached to. There just ain't time for all that anymore. I mean,
That's
but I know that
true
it's
that.
there if I need it, which is cool.
So media section.
This could be a weird media section.
How
Well,
weird
this
of a
could be
media
a
section.
weird meet. So this is the time of our podcast at 8 Central, 9 p.m. Eastern, where we talk about movies and TV shows that we've watched this week, or books we've read, music, etc. Any kind of media stuff that we want to talk about. I saw a couple movies.
What?
I did.
We should point out that that's odd because generally Kathy hasn't watched any movies and Gonzo's watched all of them, and John's watched like one or two.
And we're kind of the opposite because Gonzo hasn't watched much because Gonzo's been sick.
So Gonzo watched one or two, Kathy watched all the movies, and John didn't watch shit.
Acid Burn Punk. Hey, Acid Burn Punk. I didn't know you were here. You went through 4 books. What do you have to tell us?
Cyberstorm,
What books?
I actually just started that before we got on the podcast.
Hey, what's Enola Holmes?
It is a Netflix movie about Sherlock Holmes' daughter or sister, younger sister, 16-year-old sister or whatever, and goes off. And Sherlock Holmes is played by Henry Cavill.
Henry Cavill.
Huh.
Yeah, and Enola Holmes is played by Bobby from Stranger Things. I can't remember her full name.
Okay.
I watched like the first 40 minutes. Hear me go and do that. I've only watched like the first 40 minutes of it. And it plays like a Sherlock Holmes movie, talking about things, everything that you would typically done, but done from the younger sister's perspective. Millie Bobby Brown. There we go. I couldn't remember going off of just blah. But I was intrigued. I was having fun with it. It was a fun movie so far. Not gonna give any rating on it because I'm not finished. But so far, as soon as I get done here, I'm gonna go finish it up.
And it's a movie, not a series?
Correct. It's just I think it's like
Okay.
2-hour movie on Netflix.
That's cool because I'm a big Sherlock Holmes fan.
Mhm.
I've Sherlock Holmes since I was a kid. I used to watch the old Basil Rathbone, Nigel Bruce ones with my dad.
I'm also watching the BBC Sherlock Holmes and
Oh, I
going
like that one too,
getting
yeah.
through that now. Oh, Elementary is
Elementary
amazing.
is awesome. Nick said I really like that series too.
Elementary was
And that
great.
came out right about the same time as they started playing the BBC Sherlock
Yes, that
here in the States. They were like kind of at the same time, so I was trying not to compare them. But yeah, I really enjoyed Elementary, and I thought Lucy Liu was really cool.
Yeah, it was a really good series. Yeah,
I haven't seen it. I like Johnny Lee Miller. I like Lucy Liu. But funny that it's on, what is that, CBS?
yeah.
Which means it's probably on CBS All Access, which
I'm sure.
I still have. So maybe we'll put that on the list.
Oh, I loved
Because I'm
Elementary.
myself with Clone Wars. I got to watch some other series.
It was really good. Had a lot of good thing in it. Of course, it's a modern twist on it, so it's modern day. But it was really good. I really liked it a lot. They actually kind of went on the big drug addiction part of the Sherlock Holmes too, because of course in the books he did drugs, and then in Elementary they kind of went with they took it a little step further, of course, to a modern point. So it was really
Fair
good.
enough.
So Kathy, why don't you go, since you have like 7 to do today? You can go with one of your 7.
So I watched The Holiday, which is a romantic comedy from 2006. And it's just Kate Winslet, Cameron Diaz, and they both have guy problems. They decide to switch houses. One lives in England, the other one lives in LA. They switch houses. Uh, it was fun. Jack Black was in it, and I love Jack Black, and he was hilarious as always. And what can I say? It was a romantic comedy, pretty formulaic. Uh,
Most romantic comedies aren't. That's why we love the ones that are formulaic. That's why we love the ones that aren't so much.
well, you always know. You always know the girl meets the guy, and then they fall in love, and then there's some kind of wrench that gets thrown in the works that it screws everything up, and then they find a way to get together. That's like every single. I don't think I've ever seen a romantic comedy that wasn't like that.
Yeah.
So, but it was funny. Everybody was entertaining. I liked it. Maybe 2 space herpes because it's a romantic comedy. I wasn't really.
At the end of the
I
day,
wasn't
no matter how
really.
good it is,
Yeah, I
it's
wasn't
still a
really
romantic
expecting
comedy.
a whole lot. It was just sometimes you just want to watch something that's just mindless fun. So that was my very short and sweet review. Not really a review, but I
I,
watched it. It was fun.
Oh, I can talk about something, Gonzo. I watch just because I don't watch anything significant doesn't mean I haven't watched 7 million YouTube videos.
oh, of course.
Because I watch 7 million YouTube videos. I use YouTube also like most people. A lot of people use Spotify.
Okay.
So I'm going to talk real quick about one of the ones I look at, and this is sort of a weirder one, not my normal sort of MechWarrior Online and music video wheelhouse, is MGO316, who does Transformers and action figures reviews.
Okay.
Huh.
He's really funny. He's really personable. He compares with other models. He'll show you all the details. He'll transform it in front of you on camera so you can see how it does. There's some I'm like, oh, this is really cool. I want to buy this. And he transforms it, and I'm like, nope, fuck that. That's too hard. But he's really good. He puts out stuff multiple times a week. Again, like I said, he's very funny. He's got a huge collection of these things. Does a little skit at the end of all of them. With some running gags that are sometimes really funny. But if you're into that stuff, if you're thinking about buying a particular Transformer model, check him out, see if he's got a review of it. It might either sell you on it or not, because there's a lot of differences in those. I would give him, a half a shot of Kraken, half a Space Herpy, because he's generally really good. Once in a while, a little extra silly and all, but it's usually pretty good. And then also, before we go on, Nixel said, found the group Volbeat this week, is a good old rock band. Yeah, I like Volbeat also. I wasn't as big a fan of their earlier stuff, but their most recent stuff they've been putting out, that doesn't sound... They were a very specific sound. If someone plays a song, you're like, that's Volbeat. You know it. They have a sound. That I don't want to say... It's like what people say about Nickelback, but not like in a bad way. You just know that it's Volbeat. It's like when you hear an Andrew WK song, you're like, that's Andrew WK. I fucking know it. But Die to Live, which is one of the more recent ones, where in the video they have Neil Fallon from Clutch on it, is fucking my favorite song right now. It is... I just love it. It is great rock with piano and saxophone in the middle of it. It is just great. I would check it out. Die to Live, Volbeat. Absolutely my favorite. The rest of her stuff has been all good, too. Go ahead, Kathy, or Gonzo.
Like I said, I didn't get to watch a lot, but I did notice. I just want to talk about something. Everybody saw that they canceled Dark Crystal Resistance, which kind of is a bummer because I was really into it and really liking it. But I figured it would go on and get canceled anyway, because it's Muppets, and
it's not so much that. There's two things with it. It's one, it's Muppets, and a lot of people aren't into Muppets, and they should be, because Muppets are fucking awesome.
Yeah.
Two was the problem I had, and the reason I hadn't watched it yet is we do kind of all know where the whole story ends.
Correct.
it's hard to do. You can do that for a season, like in Star Wars. We know where Rogue One's gonna end.
Yeah.
We kind of know. We hadn't seen any of these people since, so either they're gonna be stupid and retcon it, or everyone gonna die.
Yeah.
It's not like it's a surprise. So there's only so much they can do.
Correct. Which it's I get it. There was I know someone had mentioned that it was too expensive, and I'm sure it probably got pretty expensive with sets and everything, which is kind of bad.
Puppets are not cheap, unfortunately, even if they are awesome.
Also, Kipo and Age of the Wonder Beast is the final season is coming out October 12th. If you're not watching that, check it out. It is an amazing, cool, funny cartoon. Really plays up some really weird shit. There's something about bees that talk in techno rave music.
Techno rave music.
Yeah. And so it's really good. That's coming out. There was a couple of other things that were coming out or ending that I couldn't remember what it was, but I was like, oh man, everything, because it's getting really hard for me to find shows to watch, which is why, I was really excited that Raised by Wolves got renewed for a new season already, which I was really like, if you've got HBO Max and you like really good and really trippy sci-fi, because you really don't know who to root for and who to, get going or how to, who's a good guy, who's a bad guy, this is the show for you. There was a big plot twist at the end of this last episode that I can't wait for them to explain, but I really, really, really like Raised by Wolves. It's a sci-fi done a little bit different, and it's a unique type of story. So I'm still giving it 0 space harpies for the time going because it's just freaking badass. I love the shit out of it. I really, really like it. So
it's surprising. My boss, who loves being shout out to John, was not a huge fan because he says, well, it wasn't like bad quality or anything. It just seemed like that everything keeps getting worse and worse in the most unrealistic ways possible.
There is some bad things, but the thing is it's the story of the two factions, and now we've got a third type of faction brewing, and it's like this pull and shove between the two factions, and like I said, you really don't know who to root for and who to, okay, yeah, this is, oh shit. Okay, yeah, that happened, but I mean, I really like it a lot. I'm having a blast with it. They release 2 episodes every Thursday, I think is what it is. So which is becoming the new norm, because a lot of new shows that are Netflix, HBO Max, so on and so forth, are releasing, like 1 episode every week or 2 episodes every week, which I'm perfectly fine with.
Yeah. I know people hate that because they want to binge a series and maybe cancel them's membership afterwards, and I know you can be upset, but they kind of don't want you to do that because that affects their money and affects what they can put towards stuff.
Correct.
So try and maybe, give it a chance. Maybe it'll be okay. If not, then maybe that's not the thing for you, unfortunately.
Because people are still downvoting The Boys on Amazon because of that, because they only release 1 episode a week, and I'm like, The Boys is still a great series, but
Amazon's probably the one service where it's not going to affect much because it's Amazon Prime. Generally speaking, the videos are tacked on to the stuff you get and are going to love anyways.
Correct. But you don't downvote it because they're doing that. I mean, they're downvote it because it's a shitty show, not because they decided to put it out 1 episode every week.
So, Acid Burn, if you want to binge something so you can binge the next 8 show, binge the next 8 shows, any shows you have that are complete, and give it time to complete. That's what I did with Discovery. By the time I got to Discovery and Picard was already several weeks in, so by the time me and the roomie caught up, we were done. And then Discovery, there was already 2 seasons done, so we just got to watch it at our own speed. and I like to do that better than I like to wait for it to release every week because I can't guarantee any day I'm going to be in the mood to. I mean, it's weird, but I mean, COVID apocalypse is like that. Sometimes you're like, I don't want to see that. I want to see fucking Muppets being amazing because I need that kind of humor.
So what's one of yours, John?
Okay, Kathy had
Oh.
said the second one.
Oh, that's right. Go ahead, Kathy. What's
Yeah.
your other one?
So I didn't realize that there was a movie before this one until I finished watching this one. It was The Legend of Fritton's Gold, and it was only afterwards that I realized it was the second installment of Saint Trinian's, which was an earlier movie. But anyways, so The Legend of Fritton's Gold, uh, it's the most bizarre movie I've seen in a long time. It's so weird. Like funny, but weird. The costumes were really cool, but it was weird. It takes place at this girls' school. At a girls' school where there are no rules. Except for that the girls, they wear uniforms, but every single girl has like modified her uniform in some way, which ends up looking really cool. Anyways, so this was like a 2009? No, was it 2009? Anyways, uh, so the headmistress of the school is played by oh, what's his name? Rupert. God damn it, I can't remember his name. What's his face? Rupert. What's his face? Rupert Everett. Look, I googled it.
That's what Google's for.
Yeah. So David Tennant plays the antagonist. And Jodie Whittaker is in it. It just is one of the characters. And I'm like, wait a minute. So there were a whole bunch of it out of all the girls in this. It's a British show, and I'm like, she looks familiar, and she looks familiar. He looks familiar, and you just all these really familiar faces in it. But it's like a pirates. It starts out with pirates, and I have no idea where it's going from there because I never saw the first movie. I didn't even know there was a first movie. So it starts out with pirates, and then they're like, the one guy's like, you stole my treasure. I'm gonna exact revenge on you if it takes me, 10 years, 100 years, 420 years, which is oddly specific. But it turns out that 420 years later is when the rest of the movie takes place, which is the headmistress of this girls' college is a descendant of Fritton, the pirate, who robbed the David Tennant character of his treasure. The David Tennant character was going to use this treasure to try and unseat the first Queen of England because he felt like women shouldn't be ruling over men, and so there's this whole sort of battle of the sexes kind of thing going on, this dynamic in this movie, and just the whole thing was so bizarre. There was a raid on the girls' school in the dark of night by these guys with like night goggles and paramilitary outfits and stuff, and these girls are repelling them with slingshots and just the weirdest shit. It was so odd. I was laughing. It was funny. It was totally worth watching, but I would go like 3 space herpes because it was just so far out there and weird and but a lot of fun. It was like one of those junk food kind of movies. It's just a lot of fun to watch, but it's probably not that good.
Fair enough.
Super funny though. So yeah.
I did see that one of your favorite movies is coming out on Netflix, John, and I'm sure you'll probably be you got that all put on there and going to watch the hell out of it.
You You mean the opposite of what you say, actually, right?
Real Steel is coming
I
out
can-
on Netflix.
I've never seen Real Steel.
Have you not? I figured it would be one of them that you would watch. I saw it just came
No.
through saying it was coming up on there, and I was like,
I saw it and I'm like, I like Hugh Jackman. Hugh Jackman's amusing to watch in movies. That doesn't look like a terrible movie. I may watch it.
It's coming out on Netflix. I just saw that. I was looking at something on. Someone sent me something on Netflix.
I don't
So
know what that is.
Real Steel.
It's like robot boxing, and someone's controlling him and teaching him. So it's another one of those AI robot-y type ones.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I'd watch it. It's not going to stop me from watching it. Shit. There are people who like it. I mean, heck, it looks like Pixel likes it. So I mean, I'm willing to try anything. Fuck, it cannot be worse than what I've fucking already seen. You know what I mean?
We know.
And we've already seen the bottom. Yeah, everything above is above. What else? Let's see. So, obviously, YouTube. I watch a lot of MechWarrior Online stuff, so I play a lot of MechWarrior Online. Barradool is super cool. He's very positive, shows you builds that may or may not be really good, but at least sort of shows you what you can do in a Mac and gives you some highlights for that. TTB is a little more serious and occasionally a bit salty, but he's a very good player. And then you can also find a bunch of other guys. A bunch of streamers will put stuff out there. No Guts, No Galaxy. Phil, he used to be a designer in the game. He puts a lot of stuff. He also streams. He's a bit more no nonsense, but he's got a better sense of humor. He's sort of like halfway between a Barradool and a TTB as far as that goes. But there's a bunch of guys. You can just find all sorts of MechWarrior Online content if you're looking at it at all. And actually, any game you're into, you can probably find a shit ton of content for people on YouTube. Take a look at it. And if I were to selfishly promote a couple more for that, look up Urbinomics 101, which is for my unit for MechWarrior Online. And then also look up, where is it? What did Fox call his channel? Foxtrot 9XL. He does a bunch of little clips. These do clips from games that I might be in, that my unit's in. A lot less commenty than the other ones because it's actual gameplay footage, not, edited to add in there. So a lot of good stuff there, a lot of build stuff you can get. But like I say, check it out for any game you're playing. If you're playing an online game or any other game, there's just so much resources out there that can help you sort of jump in and get ideas of what to do. Gonzo?
I really didn't watch much of anything else. 'Cause I was like, didn't I watch? I watched a couple of TV shows, but nothing that was worth anything. Because like I said, I was going to bed at like 9 o'clock all week. Because it was just I was just so beat. I did see, and we did make a thing on it that they've already picked their new Bond. And that was this week.
Oh, yeah, it was, what's his nugget?
Tom Holland?
No,
Hardy.
Hardy,
Tom
not
Hardy?
yeah.
Sorry. I knew it was an H. And Tom Holland on the brain.
Yeah. That they'd make that announcement that he's in the running for being the Bond, I should say. Not an official confirmation, but that he's in the running for being the new Bond.
I've enjoyed him in everything. I mean, I think they take it with a grain of salt because I hear that he on the production of Mad Max Fury Road, he was a bit of a bitch.
Oh.
But he's even come back and apologized, and he was in a shitty time of his life and was not doing what he should be doing. He was not being professional. He was not acting as he should. And that's a movie that sort of rose above it. That's sort of why he has so few lines, because he was doing things that way, and George Miller decided to roll another way. And still ended up being really cool, so that's awesome.
Yeah. I just saw that and thought that would be an interesting pick for the next Bond, but we'll see if it's actual true or not. But that was something that came up and everything, so I don't know. I did watch. I caught up on a couple of shows, but like I said, it was mostly The Boys and Raised by Wolves. Because I mean, I really just sat down and just kind of crashed this week.
Yeah, and I watched some Clone Wars this week. It is definitely getting better. It only took 4 seasons. Still a little cliched and hackneyed at points, but it's downright watchable now. So I'm looking forward to finishing that off. I really want to get it done so I can get on to the next section, so I continue watching all of Star Wars, because I still have a shit ton to go. I ain't even gotten to the third movie yet. I mean, that in episode 3, much less the original third movie. I got a whole other cartoon series and 4 movies to go to that.
Well, we also got Mandalorian coming out pretty soon too. So, are you going to skip and just go ahead and watch that, or are you going to?
Fuck yes.
Okay, I was going to say.
You have to, yeah.
Yeah.
Today at lunch, at birthday lunch, my mom was like talking about how she wanted to see the Baby Yoda show.
The Baby Yoda show. I still have to say that trailer is pretty good. And when the baby closes the hatch, you're like, he's like, fuck this.
That was great. That's awesome.
He's like, I know where this is going. Yeah, October 30th.
Ooh, it's a birthday present. Yay!
I'm definitely looking forward to that. Because I did show that. What's funny is I got this thing that said, hey, the 15 top shows that you should binge watch or get ready to watch, because of course they think that we're going to get hit by another big wave coming up. And I looked at it and like 10 of them I've already watched. I'm like, shit.
I mean,
That's
Gonzo,
it.
you're
There's
going to have
not
to
going
do
to be
something.
any more good TV made.
I mean, we got another season of Discovery coming. I know you didn't like it necessarily as much as I did, but...
Oh, no, I like Discovery. I didn't have any problem with it.
Probably not as much as I did.
Oh, I know. You really loved
Easy
it.
me to tell. Which is better, Picard or Discovery Season 2?
I don't know. Which one was better to you?
To me, it was Discovery Season 2, but that's a close fight.
Yeah, because, I mean, Picard was just good and fun. Yeah.
I love old shows. Acid Burn Punk says I've started binging old shows. I'm a sucker for old shows. I love watching old weird shit.
Yeah. I mean, remember for a couple weeks I'd like watched the first episode of Space 1999 not that long ago. I've watched the first couple episodes of MacGyver. It's fun to watch some of them here and there. I'm not sure I would watch a whole run of some of them unless I was
I'm working my way through all of the James Bond movies consecutively.
You took a week off though.
I did, yeah. I think it's going to have to be, because I couldn't do it today because of our stream, so it's going to have to be like every other Sunday that I get to do that.
That's fair.
See, I don't even know who... y'all talking about old shows. I don't even know if there's anything that I would really want to rewatch. I mean...
I'm talking old.
Like, what don't you want to
You know,
watch?
like The Saint with Roger Moore.
There
Oh
you
my
go,
God.
The Saint. Shit.
You know, I mean, there's a bajillion old shows
How
out
about
there.
the Avengers?
I don't know.
Just find something that's in a genre that you're interested in and go.
Yeah.
Sean
Well...
Connery is my favorite Bond side storm. It's Sean Connery. There's no hate.
No, I'm probably going to go into like Amazon because I did see a new series on Amazon that I wanted to try out. And then, of course, Nurse Ratched on Netflix caught my eye. And I may try to watch that.
Watching that.
So I'm going to see what that is. See what that's got a few people talking about it. And I'm interested to at least try out a couple of episodes and see if it's worth a damn. But there was something new.
I'm interested to see what Nixel's favorite
Me
Bond
too,
is now.
yeah, Nix.
Come on, Nix.
Okay, everybody, tell us in the chat, which one is your favorite Bond?
See, I have an issue with that. Because I can't really say which one is my favorite. I just know that when I grew up, I watched a lot of Roger Moore. And so he's who I would think is my Bond.
It's kind
It's sort of like your
like Doctor Who.
Doctor.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah. Kind of
Yeah.
like Doctor Who, because Tom Baker is my favorite Doctor Who.
And Peter
Because-
Davis, mine. Well, okay,
Yeah.
technically, David.
It's really not an issue of who's better necessarily, but
No, it's just who you're more
Yeah.
familiar with.
Yeah.
See,
or
I'm more familiar with
who's
Roger
big on
Moore.
the role, you know.
Yeah, see, I'm more familiar with Roger Moore because that's what I grew up watching was Roger Moore as James Bond. And I knew that Sean Connery was one, but I was like,
Doctor Who reboot. Yeah, David Tennant.
Oh, David Tennant, yeah, agreed.
Number two,
I really love
actually
Christopher
Eccleston.
Eccleston. I really loved Eccleston. we just
I haven't seen any of the last two Doctors. Matt Smith's fine. There's nothing wrong with it. Like, if that is
number 3, it's a strong number 3. You still got an A game in number 3. How's that? Oh. Pierce Brosnan should have been epic, but didn't do any sense. Yeah.
Yeah, I agree.
My familiar one is I actually really like. And this sounds good to sound weird. I really like Timothy Dalton because he was the one I really
enjoyed
started
Timothy
paying
Dalton.
attention to Bond movies.
Having only recently seen the Timothy Dalton ones for the first time, those were the only James Bond that I hadn't ever seen. I really liked that one a lot. I thought he did a really good job with that. It was a little darker for James Bond in those shows.
See, I agree with Nixel. I don't think he wasn't smooth enough for me. He wasn't like suave. Yeah.
Not like a Pierce Brosnan.
But I think that's what he was aiming for, and I like that they're all being a little bit different. You need your different take on them, which is cool. Yeah. I hope when whoever the next one is, whether it be Tom Hardy or someone else, hashtag Idris Elba.
I can see that.
I just want to see what they do with it to take it a little. It's like the role, like when everyone plays a Joker, they don't do it the way someone else did it. They do it a different way.
Yeah.
I think every Bond should try and be a little more different than the others. I think it helps this franchise.
Just the whole movie, the Timothy Dalton ones, the movies, just the plot, everything about them was just a little bit darker and more serious. But my impression was like it was way more Miami Vice than every other one too.
I would agree with that. It's definitely way more.
But it was the 1980s, so.
Yeah, I mean that's what you got then. You know,
Billy Connolly as Bond.
It took a long time to move along from the Roger Moore one to something else.
It did.
But when they did, and then sort of Pierce Brosnan was was there for like a midway between, say like the old school Roger Moore and sort of like Timothy Dalton. He sort of slid back into somewhere between the two of them.
But we could talk about James Bond forever. I mean, I could. But
of
it
course.
Is now.
Billy Connolly is Bond. Okay, that's interesting. Henry Cavill was Bond. I'm down.
I could see that.
I mean, he was.
Yeah, you know what? I feel like Bond has to be English. Or
Maybe you should look that up.
From the UK, at least.
I think Henry Cavill is English.
He might be.
Is he? I have no idea. I don't know.
Pretty sure he is.
Yeah, Banyan. Yeah, Idris Elba.
Yeah,
Hey,
Elba
He
could
would
make
be
a
an
good one.
amazing James Bond.
I think Idris Elba was perfect. I mean, he'd be great for it.
Mm-hmm.
But also, spoiler, I want Idris Elba in more things because Idris Elba is fucking awesome.
Yeah, he is.
Agreed.
You put Idris Elba in a movie, I'm like, in. Well, I don't know. No, in.
Trash, you're right. Henry Cavill and Jason Momoa should make a buddy cop movie.
Oh my god, yes. These guys
That
would be
would
great
be
together.
amazing.
They got so much charisma, it's great. Jason Momoa is just amusing to watch on screen. Oh, yeah, I mean, if you can pull off the line of Black Superman, yeah, more stuff. I'll be honest, that whole last Fast and the Furious tangent movie with The Rock and Jason Statham and Idris Elba was it was a great ride. It was not necessarily great cinema, but it was a great ride.
Okay. Well, guys, that is actually our show. We went over a little bit. That's okay. We had a good time talking. We appreciate everybody that came in, everybody that watched. More than anything, we appreciate it a lot. I'm actually we're going to send a raid over to Zambies and raid her and stuff. So stick around and stay with her.
I'd like to say, give us a follow. We do our podcast every Sunday night, and I stream my miniature painting 4 days a week, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday at 3 p.m. Central, and every other Sunday until I get this Gundam assembled is going to be Gundam assembly stream before the podcast. So, yeah, give us a follow.
Hang out. So, guys,
thanks for hanging out.
For More Than Dice, I'm Gonzo.
I'm John.
I'm Kathy.
Look
I was
after
just
each
waiting
other.
for you to say I'm John. Just waiting.
I gave you a chance.
You were waiting for me. I was waiting for you.
It's Quaception.
And now we're gonna Bill Robinson agrees I should paint my Gundam. I should paint yours too. Okay. Say hi to Sandy.